It's a beautiful day on April 20th. Here today we have Tyler, Olivia, Braden, and Kylie to continue our controversial talk on the legalization of marijuana. Up first is Olivia with the legal side. First, tell me about the laws passed for marijuana.
Well, the first law in America relating to cannabis was the 1619 law that required farmers to grow the hemp plant in order to be used for clothing, rope, and sales. Since 1937, marijuana was in an official state of prohibition due to the Marijuana Tax Act, which, interestingly enough, was mainly put into place because people believed that smoking marijuana caused white women to desire black men. So,
Wow.
crazy times. According to the Cato Institute, in 1970, marijuana was classified as a Schedule I drug because it was believed that there was no medical use and treatments in the U.S. But since then, 23 states and the District of Columbia have legalized the medical use of marijuana. It's not very widely known, but weed has been legal in Alaska since 1975.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So in Oklahoma, what kind of laws do we have?
In Oklahoma, a few marijuana-related bills have been sponsored in recent years, but none have made it to the hearing stage, so marijuana possession and sales are still illegal in Oklahoma. So if you're caught selling marijuana, it's a felony punishable by up to 20 years in prison, depending on how much you're trying to sell, where you're living, and your criminal history. But it's not just Oklahoma that is regulating pot. There's other states that still haven't made it legal, and marijuana possession, sale, and trafficking remain illegal under the federal law by way of the Controlled Substance Act. So while a state's marijuana laws may say it's legal, the federal law always supersedes state law if there's a conflict. So those are just the facts that I have for you.
Thank you. Now up next is Tyler Sanders with the economic side of marijuana.
Well, as you all probably know, the aspect of economics is a major part of the issue of legalizing marijuana. Certain groups of people believe the tax revenue of marijuana will help our economy, but according to an article on CNNmoney.com, states like Colorado and Washington are showing from taxes so far, revenues do not cover the cost of regulating it.
Wow.
Tell me about the status of one of the states that has marijuana legalized.
Okay. Colorado is on pace to nearly double the state's marijuana tax revenue this year. Collecting $44 million in 2014, the state is expected to bring in almost $125 million this year. So quite a jump. One reason for this increase from last year to this year is the fact that it is more socially accepted. The boost in pot sales is not only from Colorado residents. Last year, 71.3 million visitors spent nearly $18.6 million in Colorado, most of which is due to the legalization of marijuana. Legalization of marijuana has the potential to be beneficial to our economy and society in many ways. Weed, whether it be for recreational or medical use, could generate billions for the U.S. economy.
How does the issue of marijuana affect other areas in our economy?
Well, not only would the government be able to tax it, they would also save states money on law enforcement. And since Nixon declared war on drugs, in 1971, over $1 trillion have been spent on it. And another fun fact, former musician and reality TV star Nick Lachey is the co-owner of one of 10 weed farms in the state of Ohio. A study shows each farm could generate between $1 and $2 billion per year within the next few years. And those are just a couple ways that the legalization of marijuana could benefit our economy, possibly in the future.
That's awesome, bro.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Up next is Braden with the social side of marijuana.
How you guys doing?
Very good.
Good.
In 2009, Nearly 17 million people in the United States aged about 12 and older had used marijuana in the previous month. And for 8th graders in 2002, the rate was just above around 19%, but then by 2008, the rate had dropped significantly to about 14.6%. In 2009, 42% of high school seniors in the U.S. had used marijuana at least one time.
Not surprising.
I don't know. Not me either. It's crazy. And considerable evidence suggests that students who smoke marijuana have poorer educational outcomes than their non-smoking peers. A recent analysis using data from 3 large studies in Australia and New Zealand found that adolescents who use marijuana regularly were significantly less likely than their non-smoking peers to finish high school and obtain a degree. And marijuana can also affect your impaired attention, judgment, and other cognitive functions.
How has marijuana affected the workplace?
Glad you asked. Studies have suggested specific links between marijuana use and adverse consequences in the workplace, such as increased risk for injury and accidents. It also can have an amotivational syndrome, which can cause diminished inspiration to participate in activities, sort of gatherings and stuff. It also affects coordination and balance, which can make the workplace and even driving more dangerous because the effects are messing with their depth perception when trying to come to a stop at a stop sign or stoplight, and those intersections can be quite dangerous. It's crazy. They can have deadly consequences. And then with your balance, which can be dangerous if you're up high on a ladder or a beam maybe, and you could possibly fall off and break your neck, die, paralyze yourself. Not be good.
Okay.
And an awesome, cool, fun fact for you. Did you know, probably didn't, that the last 4 U.S. presidents, including the Barack Obama, have admitted to smoking that marijuana?
Not
Had
the
no idea.
I didn't either.
Not the Brody.
Blew my mind. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And up next is Kylie with the bad side of marijuana.
Okay. Well, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, marijuana contains the mind-altering chemical THC. And when a person smokes marijuana, the THC quickly passes from the lungs into the bloodstream. Now, the THC binds the THC binds the cannabinoid receptors, which are concentrated in areas of the brain associated with thinking, memory, pleasure, coordination, and time perception. The effects of marijuana can interfere with attention, judgment, and balance. Now, because the blood carries the chemical to the brain and other organs throughout the body, it affects every aspect of the human body possible.
What are the side effects?
Well, they're short-term, long-term, and the short-term effects are altered senses of time. You have mood swings, impaired body movements, difficulty with thinking and problem solving, and impaired memory. The immediate effects of taking the marijuana include rapid heartbeat, disorientation, lack of physical coordination, and often followed by depression or sleepiness. It has been reported that some users even suffer from panic attacks and or anxiety. Marijuana's effects on these abilities may last a long time or even be permanent.
What are the physical or mental problems?
Well, the physical effects and the mental effects they lean towards like breathing problems, increased heart rate, problems with child development during and after pregnancy, while the mental effects are more towards the temporary hallucinations, temporary paranoia, schizophrenia, depression, lots of anxiety, and maybe even suicidal thoughts among teens. Now, marijuana smoke is said to contain 50% to 70% more cancer-causing substances than tobacco smoke alone. One major study was reported that a single cannabis joint could cause as much damage to the lungs as up to 5 regular cigarettes smoked one after another. One thing that really caught my eye was cannabis is one of the few drugs which causes abnormal cell division, which then leads to severe hereditary defects. And as a woman being pregnant with a child, you would think that you would take care of that. But pregnant women who regularly smoke marijuana may give birth prematurely to an undersized and underweight baby. Some studies suggest that the prenatal use of the drug may result in birth defects, mental abnormalities, and an increased risk of leukemia in children.
So sad.
That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Now Jackie has some of the benefits of marijuana use for us. What are some of the illnesses that cannabis is used to treat?
It helps treat glaucoma by decreasing the pressure inside the eye. According to the National Eye Institute, studies in the early 1970s showed that marijuana, when smoked, lowers the intraocular pressure in people with normal eye pressure and those with glaucoma. It can also help prevent epileptic seizures. A test was used and proven on lab rats that were actually epileptic. It controls seizures by binding to the brain cells responsible for controlling excitability and regulating relaxation. And that was all from the Journal of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics. Marijuana can also help slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. In 2006, a study published by Scripps Research Institute in the journal Molecular Pharmaceutic found that THC slows the formation of amyloid plaques by blocking the enzyme in the brain that makes them. These plaques are what kill the brain cells, causing Alzheimer's disease.
Very interesting.
Yes. And in case you were wondering, giraffes don't smoke weed.
Thank you for joining in on tonight's episode.
I was gonna go to class before I got high. Come on, y'all. Check it out. I could have cheated and I could have passed, but I got high. La da. I'm taking it next semester, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, 'cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Go to the next one.